Right, everyone, second episode of Reverse Band Radio. Today we're going to do some Hellfire Extreme Cerberus Smell Salts. They're brand new. So the fun thing is, the other person's going to have to put his hand behind his back while I give you the salts.
I do love me salts, but these are vicious.
Hands behind your back so you can't stop. That's good shit.
I only have one, Eamonn.
You
I only one.
Oh! Smells like drowning.
They're serious.
I'm not going near it.
Oh, fuck.
Not a chance.
Welcome to this episode. Boom.
Welcome to our second version of the Reverse Band podcast, or Reverse Band Radio, with myself, Dave Looney, it's the Ab, and Eamonn Harford.
Yo, people, what's up?
Live from Lake Barbell in the heart of Drogheda in the northeast. For today's podcast, we're going to talk about something a little bit different, but something that's gaining a lot more traction and a lot more interest around the world from just about everybody, is strongman. And I'll be quite honest with you and say, apart from a passing interest in strongman, I know very, very little about it. Eamonn, his background is strongman before he got into powerlifting, and I still believe it's his first love. And I suppose get a bit of insight into what it is, what the competitions are, the differences, and who to look out for and what to watch. So I suppose, Eamonn, you want to give a bit of a background into what you've done in strongman before you got into powerlifting?
So, before I got into powerlifting, I did compete in strongman, competed in junior Ireland strongest man, used to compete in strongman during the summertime, and then played rugby for Clontarf during the winter. But I always loved watching strongman on TV. Do you remember, when was the first time you watched strongman on TV?
I would have watched it as a kid. Like back in the days when BBC and UTV used to have it, you had
Kaz and John Paul and those guys.
Oh God, yeah. And I mean, it was brutal, it was mental, it was crazy. But you just had no idea, except you had these huge big men lifting cars. The version of the yoke where they would literally get into the frame of a car and roll up. Like as a kid, that's just fascinating stuff.
Yeah, pulling trucks, pulling cars.
It seemed to disappear off the television for about 15, 20 years.
Yeah, I don't know where it went.
No, in Ireland, it could have gone to Channel 5 in the UK, which I think it probably did go to Channel 5 in the UK, which we didn't have. More than likely we had RT1, RT2. Got very lucky if you got a little bit of cable into the house.
Yeah.
In the mid 80s, but it wasn't on terrestrial TV.
80s and 90s.
80s, 90s as well, I suppose.
So around then there was this bit of a split. There was this kind of other federation, SCL, that came along that took guys and they gave them like contracts to kind of salary them a little bit. And you had people like Savickas and stuff who went to them. And that kind of maybe is why it was a little bit off TV. I think Channel 5 only got it in the last like 10 years. I think before that, I think UTV had it.
It would have been
or
UTV
ITV4
coverage.
Or something like that. You know,
Exactly.
ITV4.
So it was hit and miss what we got to watch. I remember, and again, it was very much a cut down episode of it. You got to see the top two or three guys at the top list. And I still think the coverage on TV at the moment is like that. You don't get to see the full amount. I think you probably have to stream it, or you have to go to YouTube to get the full competition.
Yeah. They cut a lot of because they try to like break it into slots and stuff, so it fits kind of TV schedule and stuff like that. But it's not fair on some people. But you have to remember as well is that World's Strongest Man is sold as a TV package to various different countries. So like say the Russia package would kind of like emphasize the Russian athletes more. The English package would like emphasize the English guys a bit more.
Right.
The American package would like emphasize the American. So we only ever see the English package. So we're not going to see Konstantin Janash's deadlift. Like because he's from Bulgaria, it's not going to get onto our. What they're going to show us is like Lawrence Chalet, Tom Stallman, Graham Hicks, these guys, because they're the English ones and they're the ones that they want to, because they're trying to sell views. So obviously English athletes produce English views, you know, like in a way. So like there's something like 52 countries have their own like little versions. A lot of them play the American version, but have like translations in them and stuff.
Right.
It's a big TV production thing.
And I suppose then to fall back, to bring it back to an Irish kind of context, I mean, there is strongman competitions in Ireland.
Yep.
There has been some. I saw some at Muscle Power last year in Santry.
Yep.
There was Muscle Power again this year, and I know there was a deadlift and log press competition. But the Irish, like the Irish element of strongman, or the Irish version of strongman, or what way is it organised, structured, who runs it, or what's the qualifying routes, or what happens?
So in Ireland, you have like two main promoters. You have Glenn Ross, and he runs.
The daddy.
He runs a company called Ultimate Strongman, and they have their own kind of qualifying routes. You might see like Ireland Strongest Man on like RTE would be the Ultimate Strongman company. They run to the UK Strongest Man and have links to kind of different various competitions, that sort of stuff. And then you have Dave Warner as a promoter. Now Dave Warner's linked in with the Giants Live qualifying tour, so
Dave Warner ran the competition in Muscle Power last weekend.
Yes. So like the difference between like Dave Warner and Glenn Ross is that Dave Warner has a link into Giants Live, which then has a link into World's Strongest Man.
Right.
So to qualify for World's Strongest Man, you have to come top 3 in a Giants Live competition. There's about 10 or 12 of them, maybe a little less, ran all over the world. Or there's other routes now that they're kind of producing, making more options for, So the calendar is set kind of around loads of different things, you know what I mean? Like Glenn Ross has his own calendar, and then Dave Warner has his own calendar. So that's kind of how it's ran in Ireland. But it's the same. There's no like. You could say that the Giants Live is a governing body, or Official Strongman's a governing body, but at the same time, you can do a lot of really good things in strongman in Ireland and the UK and still not get invited to a Giants Live.
Right. Is it because of the attractiveness of the competitor from a sponsorship point of view, viewer point of view,
a great
sectionist point of view?
A great example is a guy called Larry Wheels. If anybody's ever seen Larry
I've
Wheels,
seen Larry Wheels. Yes.
Larry Wheels is a very strong powerlifter, but he's only ever done one strongman show, and he didn't even win that. He came third, and it wasn't like he had to win it to get a chance. But then he, through his popularity, now he's a strong guy. It's not like he's not a strong guy. Like he's 200 kilo log and he pulls 400 kilos and blah blah blah. But he got invited to a show that's happening this weekend for a full show, which is a Giants Live qualifier. So if he came top 3 in this, he could go to World's Strongest Man.
Right.
Where other lads are fighting like 10, 15 years to win a show that allows them to get to Giants Live qualifier.
Right.
And then they might get there and they only might get one shot. This is their shot to come top 3, and you might have to compete against. Like I remember, I'll give you an example. Michael Downey went to Britain's Strongest Man, which is a Giants Live qualifier. That's his first Giants Live qualifier, right? He's competing against like Tom Stoltman, Luke Stoltman, Graham Hicks, Terry Hollins, Lawrence Chalet, who are all multiple World's Strongest Man competitors.
Yeah.
And he gets a one shot. Now, he could have an opportunity. It's the Dave Warner obviously will work his hardest to give him opportunities, but he doesn't have like the next Giants Live qualifier. He doesn't qualify for that. Does that make sense?
Well,
he's got one chance to really show what he can do on a completely different level.
The reality of that, from my point of view, well, you see it, like a strongman competition, a World's Strongest Man competition, is only going to have 10 competitors.
Yes.
So you have to bring in the people, the household names, the dark horse that's going to win it, or people that will bring in money and sponsorship, much like Formula One. Well, like half the racers in Formula One are there because they brought sponsorship and brought money with them.
Exactly. But like, look at like Larry Wheels. Like, he's gonna bring in people to see him.
Well, Larry Wheels is like he probably has hundreds of thousands of Instagram
couple
followers.
Million followers on Instagram.
Right.
You know what I mean? And
Larry, follow me. I only got a couple of hundred people.
And that kind of way. So you can understand like these guys are trying to sell at arenas and it's a business and it's a show and TV and all that sort of stuff. So you get a guy who has no bother being in front of a camera, having a conversation, doing video vlogs, putting stuff on Instagram, and then you get this other like guy. He might be 6'9", 200 kilos, but literally like swallows his tongue when a camera goes in front of him. Which one are they going? It's a TV show at the end of the day. Like strongman started out in circuses as a show for people. It was never meant to be a sport.
But again, it's not a sport because it's so varied.
Yes,
and that's what I mean. It's a point I was going to probably ask you later on, and my thoughts on it is, and the events are so varied. Like I saw Ireland's Strongest Man one year, and they were in a swimming pool, and it was a carry through a swimming pool, or a loading competition through a swimming pool.
Yeah.
And there was two competitors. I mean, Pa O'Dwyer was in it, and somebody else. But there was probably about 9 inches in height difference between the two competitors, and one fella struggled to get through the pool carrying anything because it was physically impossible for him to carry the stuff through the pool. And I suppose, you know, a sport by its very nature, you know, if it's going to be a sport regulated by its very nature, the rules of the game are set. But with strongman, I believe it can change at any given moment. The weights can change, the dynamics of the lift can change.
Yeah.
And a lot of the time it's done to suit the venue.
Yeah.
If they go to Dubai and they're out in the desert, they're going to have something with sand in it.
Yeah.
Because, you know, you're obviously getting money from the tourist board in Dubai to have it there.
Yeah.
Or if you're going to Baku or
But
going somewhere
if we
like
went to
that.
the Maritime Festival in Drogheda, they'd ask us to, like, if we were lifting up, say, a deadlift, can we put fish blocks or something? You know what I mean? Because the Maritime Festival are paying you to be there, so they want you, like, the videos and pictures have to be something that promotes them as well.
And that would follow on to the question then that obviously certain events or certain competitions will suit certain lifters.
Yes. Every competition is varied in its events. There is no set events in strongman, and don't believe that there will be, because it'll never be that way.
But in essence, there's always a carry and a press and a
deadlift and a hold, and there's always going to be stones. That's pretty much what you can guarantee on. Strongman is really fun because of that, though. Because at the end of the day, like, you have to just be strong and fit and mentally strong to be able to walk in and go, right, cool. So what are we doing today? It's not like 8, 10, 12, 13, 14 weeks out, you know exactly the diameter and the inch of the axle you're going to use, so you plan to do blah blah blah. Like, that's where a lot of, in my opinion, powerlifters fall down. They focus on the major and the minors. What type of bar are we using, and what like what floor is going to be there, and blah blah blah. It's like you see people like Tor Bjornsson, like, pulling 500 plus kilos in Dubai on a stage with lights on him at 9 o'clock at night time. It's pretty humidity. Like, he didn't train in that environment, but he's strong as fuck. So therefore,
it's the conditioning, and it's the one thing I've noticed now from the strongmen currently than there was 20, 30 years ago when I was watching it as a kid, which was a long time ago. But their conditioning is different. Like, you have to look at Terry Hollins. Like, Terry Hollins he's literally half the man he was. Probably still weighs close enough to where he was. Now, he's probably not the strongest man in the world, but he gets to all the shows. Like, Terry could be a bodybuilder. He could go on the stage.
He's doing a bodybuilding show now. He's prepping for one, yeah.
And that's the bit. So, like, it's conditioning, I think. Like, if you're going to be competing at a certain number of events all the way through the day, 3 days on the spin, in countries where it tends to be hot, they always tend to go somewhere where it's hot. The shows are outdoors the vast majority of the time. So the conditioning, I think, is a massive part of it now. And it's not just your big, heavy, strong man. It can help, but they tend, like Thor, who obviously has dominated in the last couple of years, you know, is not the stereotypical strong man of 20, 30, 40 years ago.
No.
He's far from it.
No, and like,
he obviously will put on weight before a competition.
I think what they are now is they are masters of their own bodies, because they go, right, we're going into a super heavy show like the Arnold Classic, right? I need to be 210, 215 kilos. I need to be crazy heavy to handle the weights that I'm doing. And then they turn around and they go World's Strongest Man, which is only like 12 weeks in the difference of the competition, or 8 weeks, and they go, right, World's Strongest Man is always a bit more about pace and speed. I need to be 190 kilos. And that's where they're they're professional athletes, because they have the ability to chop and change and to emphasize certain strengths in their body to be able to do that. Like, give an example, World's Strongest Man had no deadlift event in the final, but this weekend is the World Deadlift Championships.
Yeah,
you're going to see guys who haven't trained a deadlift for a final literally go out and pull new PBs because they've conditioned in different ways. Anyway, we'll get on. We asked earlier on Instagram if anybody had any questions for the podcast. because I don't want to keep rambling on about strongman. There's a few questions in there about strongman, so we'll answer it. First of all, if you're interested in strongman, give Dave Warner, Glenn Ross, give them a shout. Ask them when the next competition is. There's people like Matty Costello as well, who's really pushing female strongman, doing some novice shows. Those guys are really, really good. If you need any information about shows and that sort of stuff, give those guys a shout. They'll be happy to help. So what have we got there, Dave?
One of the questions I'm just looking at there, and I suppose it's one that will stand out, and it's, in your opinion, like, what is the greatest feat of strength ever done?
Eddie Hall, deadlifting 500 kilos, is by far the greatest feat of strength ever achieved. It is...
I'd find it hard to disagree with that.
Unfathomable to think about deadlifting that much weight off the ground. And what's crazy about it, Dave, is that a lot of people put their balls out there and go, I'm going to do this.
Thor took a cut off it.
No, Tor never gave it a shot.
Did he not? I thought he did a 501 kilo.
No. That was in the Arnold Classic on a long bar deadlift, which is different.
Right.
So, no. The only two people who have ever tried it, and only one person's ever been successful, is Jerry Pritchett, who's competing this weekend, and Eddie Hall. And Eddie Hall achieved it. Eddie Hall put his life on the line for that 500 kilo deadlift. He put his money where his mouth is.
He spent about 2 years training for that, did he?
Yeah, and he organised so much stuff, like massive sponsorship deals, all this sort of stuff, that all lied on the fact that he said he would do it.
Right.
In training, the heaviest weight he pulled was only 460.
Right.
In his video, actually explaining with the 500, he tells how he did it. This is crazy, by the way. He said he was talking to a sports scientist, and they said there's only a certain percentage of your muscles that actually can be used. Your body won't let you use all of them, because if they did, you would actually tear your muscle every time you did something. So he said, obviously, an athlete like yourself, you have a higher percentage that you can use than a normal person, but you're still not utilising 100%. So Eddie Hall said he went to a hypnotist and got the hypnotist, kind of like a brainwash thing, to brainwash that a certain point on his hand, that when he pinched it, made his body go into fight or flight mode of the deepest, darkest, most scariest thing he could possibly imagine. He didn't even explain what it was in the video. He said he won't talk about it. And he said that he only ever once pinched that moment, and that was before the 500 kilo deadlift. And he said that the reason why he bled out his nose and fainted after is that his body actually gave 100%, but you can't give 100% or your body will shut down. So he said he gave the 100%. He said he doesn't remember doing the deadlift. He says that moment his mind went blank. His body overcame with just complete emotion that he didn't know how to understand.
It was phenomenal. Like that to me, like it's a groundbreaking number. It's half a ton. It's phenomenal.
But to go from 464,
yeah,
like 464 to 500, and when previous it was like 5 years, it was like 460. It was like 461, 462, 463, 464. Like to go to 500 is like, it's like if Usain Bolt tomorrow ran 6 seconds, 100 meters. That's like what he did. He didn't just take half a second off it. He obliterated it. It was just unbelievable. It's phenomenal.
Do you think it can be replicated?
No. I honestly think that the only man in this planet who has the ability to pull 501, right, is Jerry Pritchett, because he got it to his knees, but his hamstring tore.
No,
but
why would Thor be able to do it?
I don't think that Thor. I know this sounds a bit mad, but Eddie Hall, basically his entire life for that year was getting ready for that 500 kilo, right? Thor has too much stuff going on. He goes to Dubai for appearances. And he's
a celebrity behind it all.
He does celebrity. He does films. All this sort of stuff. He would literally need to be a hermit and live in Iceland and train with this only one purpose. That's it. That's what Eddie Hall did. Jerry Pritchett's the only man who can do it, but the problem with Jerry Pritchett is that he actually has a full-time job as a metal fabricator.
Right.
So the fact that he's as strong as he is and works 10 hours a day from 4 in the morning to whatever time.
If he was able to dedicate
if he was able to take a year and be fully only on this process, then he'd be able to do it.
Final question on that deadlift.
Yeah.
Can I get that hypnotist before the IPF Masters Nationals?
If you hear of a massacre at the IPF Master Nationals, David's found a hypnotist.
Now, I suppose the next couple of questions are around training for strongman and the events themselves. And I suppose the question is like, where to train for strongman? Like, where can you train for strongman in a commercial gym?
Yes, I think you can. I think you can train for novice strongman in a commercial gym. Get your overhead press, get your squat, your bench, your deadlift strong. Not just 1 rep max strong, get reps going. And then Ireland is a small country, you know what I mean? Travel to Galway Strength and Performance in Galway, travel to Michael Downey up north, travel down in Limerick to Pal Dwyer, travel to Glen Rossi as a yard. Dave Warner has a gym. There's places you can travel to do. You only need, to be honest with you, 2 or 3 sessions in a prep on equipment before you become really good, to really get used to doing them.
But stones, like, you can't train for. How can you replicate stones in the gym?
You just be really strong in your legs, really heavy squats, really heavy front squats, deadlifts, that sort of thing. Strong legs will help you strong one.
And I mean, I suppose somebody asked what your favourite and worst events are. Like, I can tell you now what I know what your favourite event is.
You know, I don't think I think you'd be surprised.
Deadlift.
No, I don't. In strongman, I'm good at deadlifts and I very rarely lose. But I actually don't like doing like 12 reps at 240 or 260 or even. I don't like doing that.
I suppose it's not a a rep max.
It's not. And actually, there's an interesting thing, because if I ever do a strongman comp now, especially because I have the powerlifting behind me, I nearly have a lot of pressure on me to win the deadlift event. I actually really enjoy pulling trucks and moving events. I actually really enjoy them.
Why is that?
It kind of brings me back to my athletic days, playing rugby and stuff. But there's nothing better than like getting attached to a 10-ton truck and pulling it, like,
and getting the thing moving.
It's amazing to do it. Like, you can deadlift every week, but even if you had, like, who trains pulling a truck? It's like one of those things. It's like, oh, you're gonna attach me to a truck and let's see if I can pull it. Like, that's class. Like, that's probably my favorite event.
Yeah.
Worst event is probably anything overhead, because I'm just shit out. So I don't like it. But
and the log is obviously a big part of it, and I know.
Yeah, I like training it. I'm just not at that level yet. But yeah, I deadlifts. I like that I know that they're a strong event, but they're not as fun as pulling a truck.
Mm-hmm. Like, I have to say, like, my favourite ones to watch is deadlift. I just think it's great because how quickly lifters burn out. I just think they're flying along. And you'll get such a discrepancy, and there's usually a dark horse in there that will suddenly just find his rhythm and start pulling a huge amount of reps. But my least favourite ones are the squat events. I always find them a little bit I don't understand the mechanism where they squat to a box, as in like big oversized weights on the side of the bar. I don't ask because this is how little I know about it. But why they're actually squatting to a box on the outside of the weight bouncing off a box and back up.
It's a depth check.
But is that box adjusted for each lifter?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Then you've answered my question there. Then.
Yes. And they actually have a Magnuson, who's the head ref. He actually says they put your shoes on and he watches your squat, and he says if you change your squat stance on the day, you get told to put it in. They drop it 1 height on you.
Right.
So if you come in like really wide stance or so really close stance and it touches higher, and then the next day you decide to like switch it by going wide stance to try and like cheat it, he pulled you for it.
Right. So it's more like a pin squat a lot of the time.
Yes.
Because they are actually hitting and
but
stopping.
You have to remember, right? You have to remember, like, one of the most boring things in powerlifting is waiting for the judges, like, yes, no, or 2 people going yes, 1 person going no. Strongman takes that out of it. Goes, you gotta touch the things and come back up again. If you're explaining to Oscar how you know that's a good squat, it's easier
to say it touched off
to
the
explain
box.
that than it is to explain it, say, watching an IPF on YouTube, isn't it?
Yeah.
So you have strongman's all about appealing to the person who doesn't understand strongman.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
I suppose the next thing is recovery. Like when you see some of these things, like it's not like I would say if you're taking a powerlifting program or a weightlifting program, there's some sort of science behind it. There's a mentality between, peaking and, petering off and recovery and all that sort of stuff. With strongman training, it just seems insanity. It nearly seems to be a max effort all the time. Like when people train strongman, a lot of the time they're nearly training to maximal effort.
Yes, and as well, the difference in strongman compared to weightlifting or powerlifting or even bodybuilding is that a lot of the top strongman, that is their job. So they get paid when they compete. So therefore they compete every weekend. So there's a little bit of a different process going on there. Recovery really comes down to this. And this is for powerlifting, strongman, everything out there. Sleep, food, technique, and stress. Right? That's pretty much it. Technique, you need to have good technique. If you have bad technique, you won't recover as quickly. Stress, if you can't be a person who doesn't, like if you have one bad rep and you stress about it for 4 or 5 days, that's not going to aid in recovery for the next session. So you just need to be positive in how you train.
Right, let's put a funny strongman story.
Well, for the first 4 strongman shows I did, I got really badly injured in every show.
Doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, but it was weird injuries. Like the first strongman show I did, the Junior Iron Strongest Man, I tore half my finger off, dropped an anchor on it, and then the second one I damaged my knee, and the third one I broke my toe by dropping a car frame on it when I was deadlifting.
And they let you into another show after that.
yes.
Yeah.
So
the promoters don't give a shit about the athletes.
They're just keep going on. It's okay. So they're and then I remember actually a funny one was so my dad brought me up to my first strongman show. We didn't have a clue what we were getting into, right? I had no clue. And Chris McNaughton is a really good strongman. He's a good friend of mine. He is a very big dude. Now he'd been competing for a couple of years. So I walk into the garage down the road from where we're posted, and I'm going to get some Lucas Sports, some bit of food, whatever. And Chris walks in, and he was 150 kilos or something at the time. And that time I was 104 kilos. And I go outside, and my dad goes, "You sure you want to do this? I've not seen that person. He'll eat you. You're not. He's way too big. You can't be competing against people like that."
Yeah,
so
for a couple of years. But I suppose the other side, it'd be totally remiss of us to talk about strongman and not actually talk. You've touched on it, but the strong woman events.
Yes,
and it is becoming popular, and I know Maddie in Galway is really pushing it, and I tell you, it's phenomenal. Like last week at the Irish Muscle Power, you had Rhiannon Lovelace from the UK. She's a 67 kilo lifter, I think, is she?
64, I think.
64.
In the 60s.
In the 60s. She is lightweight. She's phenomenal, but she pulled 260 kilos.
Yep.
In a strong woman competition. That's
Michelle Guthrie, I think.
It was 190 or 180?
Near 200, yeah.
It was close enough. She PB'd
around 60 kilos as well.
Michelle has put a lot of work, and she trains under. She train under Rhiannon?
Yeah, she trains under Rhiannon and Luke.
She does that as well. And I know your Laura Vogelsang from here.
Yeah, she pulled 220.
She pulled 220.
Yeah.
And there was another.
Katie pulled 160.
Katie Jer's wife. 160, it's phenomenal weight's been lifted, and it's it's brilliant to see. And I know Maddie is planning on doing a bit more, and obviously Alicia is doing it as well.
Alicia is the current Iron Strongest woman. She holds the record of 245, as far as I'm aware. On
245,
and she's just an animal. She's unbelievable. She's gone to World's Strongest Woman, and things like the Arnold. Having strong woman events on main stage and all that is really helping push that. It's pretty phenomenal. One question that we got, which not on that list, is a person asked about just mentality of a failed lift. So I'm going to flip it a little bit, and this is going to be the last thing we're going to talk about because you don't want to keep us rambling on. I want you to tell me about the one lift that didn't go your way, either in competition or in training, and kind of how your brain and mentality was after it and kind of the next day. And then I want you to tell me about the best lift you've done in training or competition, and tell me the same thing, how you felt after and next day.
I suppose, oh God, the ones that always stick out in mind is your squats, because of the first lifts in a competition. And I suppose There's two ways to do it. I've probably, even though I still classify myself as a novice lifter and a fairly average one at that, I would say an awful lot of my attitude in meet day has matured an awful lot. And one that I did react to pretty well was the AIPO Nationals last year. I went out my opener. I was probably a little bit cocky going out because squatting had gone really well in training coming up to it, and I was opening at 245. Went down, moved like nothing on the bar, and next thing I realised was about 1.5 inches, 2 inches high. I don't know if I just forgot about it. I came off. There was probably, you'll always get the same thing, the referee wasn't that high, but I would have accepted it as high. I had two options: go out the back, start panicking. But I didn't. I went in, I said, no, training has gone right. We kind of sat down, I said, I've done this, been there, done that. Came out, buried the second one, got a PB on my third. And in the AIPO, you can actually get a cut off a fourth lift for a record attempt. I even took a fourth attempt. I just about missed 270. But that was probably the way I was, even though I missed my first squat, I was delighted with the fact that I actually reacted that way and did it. There was a competition. I did an IPF competition a couple of years back. Probably the same thing happened. Went down a little bit cocky, missed my first squat, turned around in the back, gave out shit to everybody, said no way, I'm getting robbed. But an idea in my own head that something went wrong. What did I do? I went out and did the very same thing in the second squat and just about got in. I nearly bombed out because of it. And again, it was two totally different reactions. One, where you just put it aside, trust the plan, trust the training, or two, you get it into your mind. And it will actually stand out in the fact that, you're there to lift on the day. You have 3 attempts at a squat. The first one goes wrong. Don't overanalyze it. All the analysis has been done in the gym, done in the meet day. In the couple of minutes that you are in the back of the warm-up room getting ready, you're not going to change your program. You're not going to change your strength. You're not going to change anything else. Put it out of the mind. Treat the second one as a second lift. And I think, it's maturity as well.
Yeah.
I suppose the same thing to yourself.
I think probably the lift that really hit me the hardest for failing was I think last year in the abs pro prep I training was going really well. I did a pause deadlift in here, and a lot of people don't know, but I did like 378 kilos without a belt, and I just got to the top of it and it came out of my grip, and I think that destroyed my deadlift confidence going into the comp.
I remember coming in that evening.
It actually physiologically destroyed. I think my hands haven't been the same since. It really got to me, and it really played on my brain. It was very hard to get over. But good training partners, good wife, was able to kind of move past it. Probably the most happiest lift of all time was my 400 kilo deadlift at the Irish Muscle Power.
I was actually going to bring that up without talking to you, but
it was just amazing. I just felt like, wow, I can't believe I just did this, and yeah. So,
but you did it. You were going to wear a suit, and you didn't wear a suit that day.
Yeah. Do you know? I talked to a fella called Joe Downey, who's a very experienced coach. He helps his brother Mick out a lot, and what's great about Joe and Mick is they're very straight in their answers. A lot of people go, "Do you think?" You ask them questions, say, "Do you think I should wear a suit?" And Joe just turns and goes, "No, you don't wear a suit. Pull it raw." Where a lot of people wouldn't give me that answer. So that is a great addition to have someone as experienced and straight at the competition. He was the one who told me to pull the 4. After my 365, I put 390 in for my third, and he changed it to 4 because he said, "You're going to pull it," and I believed him. You know, that way. So it's very important to have people around.
Quick. It was a good pull. Yeah. It was a phenomenal pull, and I know what it means to you because I've been training with you long enough to know that the 400 was a number. You pulled it off blocks here in the gym. You gave a cut off it at the IPO Nationals last year, and you got at your knees. So it was a long time coming, and it'd be remiss was to say as well on the day, like a guy you've trained with quite a bit, James Hickey, pulled 410 straight after you.
410.
It was phenomenal. Like James.
To the last point, because we're kind of rambling on here. Last point, of the whole thing. To think that at a small show in Ireland, there's 2 guys pulling over 400 kilos, like, is just crazy to see how things have progressed on. You know, in a way, like
400 kilos was at World's Strongest Man level a couple of years ago.
Well, 400 kilos was like, wow, ages ago. and now it's like
Just do 300 kilos.
yeah. Now, no one's done it in powerlifting in Ireland. I'm not entirely sure anyone's done it raw in the UK either. 400 kilos. I know Andy Bolton's done over 400 in a suit, but I don't think anyone's ever done 400 raw. So that has to be done.
If anyone can dispute that, let us know.
Just let us know, put it in the comments.
Yeah.
Also, thanks very much for listening. If you have any questions, anything you want to add, anything you'd like us to discuss, just drop in the comments below. And thanks very much. So, Eamonn, Eamonn Strong on Instagram, Leg Barbell also on Instagram and Facebook.
And at it's _ the
just Dave Looney.
Just Dave Looney. I'm not very good at social media.
I think we should change that to Synthol Calves. Just saying.
Sun's out, guns out, baby.